Have you ever felt it, that tiny little alarm in your body? You're sitting somewhere normal, completely normal. A classroom, a bus, a restaurant. Your own damn room. Nothing dramatic is happening. And then suddenly you feel like someone is watching you or looking at you. Not loudly, not obviously, just a strange little pressure. Like the air behind your head changed. So you turn around, and sometimes someone actually is staring. And now your brain gets very proud of itself. It leans back in its tiny chair and says, "See, I told you, I have powers." But then another question appears. Did you really sense someone's eyes on you, or did your brain quietly collect clues before you knew you had clues? Because the feeling of being watched is one of those experiences that feels supernatural until you realize your nervous system has been running surveillance your entire life. And honestly, it is nosy. Your brain is the neighborhood auntie of your body. It wants to know who is there, why they are there, where they are standing, what their face is doing, whether they noticed you, whether you noticed them noticing you, and it is exhausting. But it is also why you're still alive. Because for most of human history, being watched mattered a lot. So if someone was looking at you, it could mean friendship, it could mean attraction, it could mean judgment, it could also mean danger. It could mean, hey, there's food over there. Or it could mean, hey, I'm about to throw a rock at your head. So your brain learned to treat eyes as important. Not cute important, emergency important. Eyes are not just decorations on a face. They are arrows. They point towards attention. They tell you what someone knows. They tell you what someone wants. They tell you whether you're included in their world right now. And if those eyes are pointed at you, your brain does not ignore that. It lights up. Because being watched means you have become part of someone else's plan. That plan could be harmless. Maybe they like your shoes. Maybe they think they know you. Maybe they are wondering if you're the person who took their parking spot. But your nervous system does not start with poetry. It starts with survival. Before your conscious mind says, "Oh, a person is looking at me," your brain may already be asking, "Are we safe?" This is where the weirdness begins. Because your brain does not wait for perfect information, it guesses constantly. It takes little pieces of the world and builds a story before you even realize a story is being built. A shadow moves, a chair creaks, someone goes quiet, a face turns slightly. Your peripheral vision catches something at the edge. A group of people suddenly stops talking. You do not consciously process all of that like a detective in a crime show. You do not stand there with a tiny notepad saying, "Subject A shifted shoulders 12 degrees towards me." No. Your body just goes, something changed. And that becomes a feeling. A tiny chill. A pull to turn around. A sudden awareness of your own posture. And then you look. If someone is watching, you remember it. If no one is watching, you forget it. This is one of the sneakiest parts. Your brain is very good at keeping evidence for the moments when it was right, and quietly deleting the moments when it was being dramatic. You've probably felt watched hundreds of times and turned around to find absolutely nothing. A wall, a lamp, a confused dog, your own jacket hanging on a chair like a serial killer. But you do not remember those moments as strongly because nothing happened. There was no story. But the one time you turned around and someone was actually staring, that becomes a legend. Your brain puts it in a velvet box. It labels proof that I have mysterious powers. And every time it happens, the legend grows. But the truth is even better than magic. Because your brain does not need supernatural powers to be impressive. It has biology. And biology is already weird enough. Let's start with your eyes. You're not seeing the world like a camera. You're seeing a sharp little center surrounded by a much blurrier world. The center of your vision is where details live. This is where you read words. This is where you recognize tiny features. This is where you can tell if someone has eyeliner or just had spiritually damaging night of sleep. But the edges of your vision, that is peripheral vision. It is not great with detail. It will not read a menu for you, but it is very good at noticing movement. It is good at detecting rough shapes. It is good at saying something over there moved, and I do not like its attitude. So, even if you're not directly looking at someone, your visual system may catch their head turning, or their body facing you, or a small shift in their eyes, or a motion that suggests attention. You may not consciously think that person is looking at me, but your brain may still notice enough to raise the alarm. And once it raises the alarm, your attention moves. That is the feeling. Not a ghost, not telepathy, a prediction. Your brain is saying, check that. And because that feeling arrives before the explanation, it feels mysterious. That is the funny thing about nervous system. It often reacts first and explains later. Your body can tense before you know why. Your heart can speed up before you have a sentence for it. Your brain can drop before your mind catches the clue. Consciousness is not always the first person at the meeting. Sometimes consciousness walks in late with coffee and says, wait, why are we scared? Meanwhile, your body has already made a PowerPoint. When it comes to being watched, the brain has entire systems that care about the faces and gaze. There are areas involved in recognizing faces, areas involved in reading eye direction, areas involved in emotional meaning. One important region often discussed in gaze perception is the superior temporal sulcus. Very fancy name. It sounds like a spell from a wizard who majored in neuroscience. But in simple terms, this area helps process changing social information. Things like where someone is looking, what their face is doing, where their attention might be going. And then there is the amygdala. People often call it the fear center, but that is so simple. The amygdala is more like a salience detector. This might matter detector. It cares about emotionally important information, threats, fearful faces, direct gaze in certain contexts, social signals that may require a response. So when someone's eyes are on you, your brain may treat it as important before you even decide whether it is good or bad, because direct gaze is powerful. Someone looking near you is one thing, but someone looking at you is different. It pulls you into the scene. It makes you self-aware. Suddenly you remember you have hands. Suddenly you forget how to walk normally. Suddenly your face starts asking questions like, what expression do we usually use? This is why eye contact can feel intense, even when nothing dangerous is happening. A person looking at you can make you feel seen, judged, chosen, threatened, connected, embarrassed, interested. All from two wet circles in a face. Human beings are ridiculous. I mean, a cat can stare at a wall for 40 minutes and no one asks questions. A human looks at another human for 3 seconds, too long, and suddenly there's a whole courtroom in your brain. Why are they looking? Do they know me? Is there something on my face? Did I do something weird? Am I walking like a refrigerator? And if you're already anxious, tired, stressed, or in an unfamiliar place, this system can get even louder. Because the brain does not process the world in a vacuum. It processes the world through your current state. If you're relaxed, a glance may feel neutral. If you're feeling on edge, the same glance can feel like a threat. The world did not change. Your brain's filter did. This is important. Because feeling watched did not always mean someone is watching. Sometimes it means your nervous system is scanning for danger. Sometimes it means your attention has locked on to the possibility of being observed. Sometimes it means your brain is trying to protect you with incomplete information. And prediction is not always accurate. It is biased. Your brain would rather be wrong in a safe direction. Imagine two ancient humans. One hears a rustle in the bushes and thinks probably nothing. The other hears a rustle and thinks absolutely not. That bush has bad vibes. If the first person is right, they save a little energy. If the first person is wrong, they become lunch. If the second person is wrong, they look silly. If the second person is right, they survive. So over time, nervous system did not become perfect truth machines. They became survival machines. And survival machines are allowed to be dramatic. This is why your brain sometimes treats uncertainty like danger. If it cannot explain a sound, a shadow, a stare, a silence, it may fill in the gap with a warning. Not because it hates you, because it's trying to keep you alive using software written by evolution and updated by trauma, memory, mood, sleep, caffeine, and whatever argument you had yesterday. I know, very elegant system. 10 out of 10. No bugs at all. But here is the part that makes the feeling of being watched so fascinating. Sometimes you're not imagining it. Sometimes your brain is picking up real cues. You may hear someone stop moving behind you. You may notice a reflection in a window. You may catch a tiny movement in the corner of your eye. You may see another person reacting to someone behind you. You may sense a social change in the room. A pause, a silence, a shift, and your conscious mind does not know what it noticed. It only receives the final message. Turn around. This is why the feeling can feel impossible to explain. You did not make it up. But you also did not use magic. You used hidden processing. Your brain is constantly doing work backstage. You only see the performance. It is like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. Except the magician is your nervous system, the rabbit is a threat protection, and the hat is your skull. A beautiful family show. Now, let's talk about the most famous version of this feeling. The idea that you can feel someone staring at you at the back of your head. This belief is everywhere. People test it with friends. They stare at someone until the person turns around. Then everyone screams, see? Science, except not exactly. If you stare at someone long enough, they may turn around for many reasons. They heard you move, they sensed change. They were already about to turn. They felt uncomfortable for unrelated reasons. Or they turned randomly and you only noticed because you were staring. Also, if you are the person staring, you're not neutral. You're waiting. You're emotionally invested. Every tiny moment feels like evidence. If they turn around, you remember it. If they do not, you eventually get bored and stop collecting data. This is not a fair experiment. This is a sleepover with confidence. So, scientifically, there is no strong reason to believe humans can literally detect a gaze from behind with no sensory information at all. But that does not make the feeling fake, it makes it human. The feeling of being watched is built from attention, prediction, memory, body signals, threat detection, and social awareness. It is not one thing, it's a recipe. A little peripheral vision, a little hearing, a little anxiety, a little pattern detection, a little I swear someone is looking at me mix well. Bake in an ancient nervous system for 200,000 years, serve with goosebumps. And speaking of goosebumps, why does your body react physically? Why does being watched feel like it happens to you on your skin? Because the brain and body are not separate roommates, they're one messy group chat. When your brain thinks something may matter, your body prepares. Your heart rate may change, your muscles may tighten, your breathing may shift, your skin may prickle, your posture may adjust, your attention narrows. You become more aware of yourself. This is your nervous system preparing for a possible social or physical response. Maybe you need to smile. Maybe you need to avoid someone. Maybe you need to say, "Can I help you?" Maybe you need to pretend you were not just eating fries off your shirt. The body does not know yet, so it gets ready. The readiness becomes the feeling. The strange part is that once you feel watched, you start searching for proof. And when humans search for proof, we are not always fair. If you already feel watched, a neutral face can look suspicious. A random glance can look intentional. A whisper can feel connected to you. A laugh across the room can feel personal. This is called interpretation. The brain does not just receive reality, it interprets it. So,